time. Call this meeting to order. You'll notice that I'm not Greg Nelson. Greg had a schedule conflict, and he asked me to set in for him. So at this point, we've got the proof of publication.
Yes, that's on your dice. It did not come in time for the packet.
We have a quorum. We have Mr. Cornell and myself. 2 out of 3 makes a quorum. I was going to just ask you to introduce the new strategy.
Doesn't sound like the mic's on.
Well, the problem is we're told we have to put our mics very close to them, so we'll need to be reminded a few times, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's bad.
So feel free to remind us anytime we get our mouths too far away, okay?
Lean forward.
The one thing I want to mention was we had a great conversation last meeting, but it was a little kind of disorganized. And so we want to continue that good conversation, but we want to do it in a little more organized fashion. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a staff presentation of each item. We're going to have the board discuss it shortly. They will open up each individual item for comment. They will then close comment on that item, finish the conversation, then act on that item.
Yeah, you hear me?
And so that will be the order. If you wish to speak on any specific item, please fill out a form and make sure you put that item number on it so I can call you when that item comes up. If you just want general comments unrelated to a board item, then just select the comments from the public at the very end of the agenda. Any questions on that format before we move forward?
Kind of complicated.
That's actually the way it's going to be done.
Another thing is, not everybody's got the agenda.
The agenda's right there on the table.
Oh, okay.
That's the sign-up forms.
And it's also available on the website.
And the other thing I'd like to just say real quick before I turn it on, we give a lot of thanks to that organized citizen group that is working with us. I find it very valuable to work with them and to hear their comments, and I look forward to that continued relationship. And I know that they also do a good job at getting that information out to a larger community through, I guess, the Facebook page it is that they all maintain. I want to thank you for that. That's a great service that you're doing on behalf of everybody, so thank you for that. I appreciate that. That's all I have for you.
And I will thank you as well for that. Additions or deletions to the agenda from the board? Seeing none, we will move on to approval of minutes from the November 11th board meeting.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time here.
I'm leaning in right now.
We're moving on to
So moved.
why don't you come closer to the front? We're going to the approval of minutes. Why don't you come up and sit down here?
He's coming there. He's coming.
So moved.
Okay, second. All in favor? Sounds unanimous. Okay, no old business. Under new business, the ratification of past actions. I don't believe there are
The
any.
only thing I want to bring up under that item is we have discussed in the past about meeting times and dates. And I realized that the only advertisement we did was at the beginning of the year, as allowed by law. And at that time, we advertised 10 a.m. at the district offices. So we've had to advertise again every meeting at 5:30 in the auditorium because it had not been previously advertised in that way. So I always wanted to have an opportunity for the board. We don't have to make a decision tonight. If you're ready to, that's fine. Otherwise, we can bring it back at the next meeting on 3 or here. But I just wanted to see if you want to continue at 5:30 on Thursdays here, or if you want to do change to that.
Let me ask you, you had mentioned wanting to go to Wednesday nights because that's your late night. Is that?
Wednesday is my normal late night here, and it's also midweek, so it doesn't get in the way of any weekend plans. And again, you don't need to do anything for me. If it stays on Thursday, I'll accommodate that. But yes, I would have been requesting Wednesday, but again, I'm flexible on that, your discretion.
Is there any reason we can't use this room as we're using it now?
Yes, there is.
Listen, you're not.
We've already got a schedule for a year.
We are not taking public comments at this time. We are in conversations and we'll open it to the
Go
public.
ahead.
So in a couple of minutes, we'll open it for comment, okay?
So is there any problem being in this facility?
No, on Wednesday or Thursday, it's not a problem. We just want to try to avoid council meeting nights. This is the first and third Thursdays at 7, but we're usually close to done by noon, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Richard?
My suggestion is wait until the full board's here.
Okay. So with that, why don't you just want to hear some comments from the public and just hear if anybody has any concerns about meeting dates and times, but otherwise we'll postpone any actions on that till the next meeting.
Thank you.
All right?
Any discussion on that?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll just table that to the, great. Pardon me, Greg, Wednesday, Thursday or Wednesday?
Would you be required to have a public hearing if you get calendar?
No, you don't need a public hearing, you just need to advertise it appropriately.
Okay.
I thought you had to have a resolution.
Listen, we're
I'm not
trying.
trying to stop you.
Again, he technically didn't close the public comment, but again, we're gonna try to be a lot more organized. It's not gonna be a conversation back and forth. They're gonna have an opportunity to speak. And once that public comment closes, we're moving on.
We're moving on to number 2. The resolution for appointment designated agent.
And, pull that up real quick, 1 second. There it is. Turn too many pages over. All right, so basically, statute requires that we designate an agent, and as I have covered these, we'll process these. So this is just a fact that we have to do this to change it from the prior management to myself.
So could I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
And again, if I could just remind, even though it's a very simple item, just if you could ask for any comments on items before we do the vote.
Any comments on the resolution for, will be on page 8, resolution 2024-25-04. Seeing none, call for a vote. Aye.
Aye.
Do you have these available so we can sign them tonight when we're here?
I do have it available.
Okay, let's do that.
Be sent, yes.
Okay. Okay, next item. Resolution 2024-2025-05, designation of secretary and treasurer, just page 9.
This is an item I'm requesting because of the small staff and the desire for oversight from an auditory perspective of financial issues, and even administrative oversight. We'd like to designate some assistant secretaries and treasurers, and also to formally designate me as the official secretary and treasurer. Again, another requirement of law to do that. And at this point, I'm recommending, only because of Mr. Kurt's background, that he be the finance assistant, and then we could have Mr. Cardell, with his legal background, being an administrative secretary, assistant secretary. There's really no duties in any of those assignments, except in a rare occasion where I just unable to do something and some emergency requires action, and you're designated to do that action.
Like to vote.
Thank you.
Motion to accept the designation.
And
Second.
Let's open it up for public comment, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Did your
And I
attorney,
need you to come to the mic. I didn't mention that because I had a hard time doing minutes last time because my recording didn't pick up the public very well. That should be working. Make sure it's on, but it should be working like these. There's a small little black thing you slide up. There we go. Thank you. You hear me? It's not working, but it should be. Go ahead, sir. We'll pick you
my
up.
house will speak loud. Did your attorney draft these resolutions?
No, these resolutions are what we call, cut and paste from prior resolutions.
I figured you did, that's all. Thank you.
Your point?
Well, they're misspelled everywhere. That's the first thing I saw. Fellsmere might spelled properly, but I just figured it wasn't reviewed by the attorney, so that's why I asked.
Yeah, Phil, we're going to have one LA.
Yeah, one place-
Now, let's try spell check next time before we sign it.
Thank you for calling that out.
Thank you.
Does it affect the legal sufficiency of the resolutions or?
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Hello, Mr. I forgot. Mr. Nelson is on the phone, so he is in attendance now. Okay, the capital equipment disposal.
Yes,
declares as
you also
surplus.
have something on your dice related to this item too. I'm going to go over that real quick. I did do some research on the ownership of the dragline because I was coming up with some contradictory data in the office. The 1967 dragline was long ago declared surplus and discarded, so that's not an issue. It was the, I have here listed as the 82 dragline, which actually really was a 73 dragline. That's the one that's still in possession. Right now, it's sitting at the farm, just sitting there collecting dust. it showed as recently as 2017 on our inventory of things, and that was the most recent I could find files. But then I was told by,
Your mic's
It
picked
shut
up.
off.
You already had this problem, the last time not the last time, the first week we.
Yes,
We could hear nothing because the room didn't work.
Technical difficulty. Greg, we're having a little pause here for
Yes.
microphone.
so we're also learning in about 15 minutes before you have to turn it back on and off again. Let's see if that works. Whenever that happens, I'll go ahead and turn it off, back on, we'll be back in business again, so, help us out in that regard. So in any event, we have determined through talking to Mr. Tillman, the prior, manager, for SDS, that it was declared surplus and that it had been, attempted to be sold for scrap to other folks and just nobody really wanted to deal with it. And so it ended up being traded for services to Mr. Godfrey. And Mr. Godfrey, a local resident, has now donated that to the Fellsmere Museum that's being developed by a nonprofit. And that would be hopefully an exhibit that could be placed at that location. So in that regard, we don't have to take action on number 2 either. It was previously declared surplus. The only one that we really have that talk about surplus is the library excavator, which is the one prior to the one we currently have. And I'm just asking to be declared surplus, and then we try to sell it on wdeals.com.
Is it operational?
I'd like to bid on that.
Is it operational?
It is not operational. I'm not sure of the specific issues. I'll talk to Rob, our operator, see if he knows what specific issues there are.
Any comments from you? Any comments from you, Greg? Yeah. Okay, yes, sir.
Sorry. Mark, if you let me know, I mean, I'd like to look at that thing too.
Yes, please keep up with me on that.
I will.
I will get it on GovDeals and let you know when it's on
I
there.
will, sorry to interrupt, I'll try.
No, it's okay.
Is it most likely most valuable to scrap iron?
I don't know. Didn't know what's wrong with it, to be honest. It's been out there a long time, so it may be at that point now.
Yeah.
Well, I would move, can you move?
I'll move for approval to declare the surplus capital equipment authorized disposal.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Let me, talking about surplus, last meeting, we declared a personal property surplus.
Yes.
Did we, were able to liquidate that for cash? or
Well,
go?
half of it was junk, just literally junk. I had a call from somebody in the day asking me for one of the printers, and I reminded them it was one of the track printers when we used to have those holes inside the paper.
Right.
We had 2 of those, so yeah, virtually no value. Most of the stuff that had value I kept, and I'm selling out of those.
Gotcha.
We're on item
G.
G5.
Resolution adopting the fiscal year budget 2024-25 amended budget. I thought we did that last time.
We did
the last meeting.
the 23-24 final amended budget. This is the 24-25 amended budget to incorporate me into the budget because we all adopted our budget. I wasn't even thought of being here at that time. So it was really just to see, it was an exercise to see what impact the transition of management had on the previously approved budget. And it is a substantial impact. We basically took the 100,000 reserves that you had asked for at the last minute on the budget, and unfortunately that had to be spread across the additional costs. Because it wasn't just bringing the management over, it was also the budget that was prepared by the old management company was low in many areas. So we also had to increase multiple line items to cover that issue. And then obviously deduct the management fee that you wouldn't be paying anymore. So in a sense, the overall increase was about $150,000. And most of that is addressed through the reserves, but then there was some balance left over, of which the money in the bank we had to cut. And it is very tight here, as you can see. The budget surplus at the beginning would be just $10,000 as a result of that. Later on in the agenda, there'll be discussion about ways to save a little bit of money to kick very end of the fiscal year like we always do, because you don't mix these numbers exactly.
Understood. Any public comment on that?
So now here, this would be,
I move for approval as amended.
let me just make sure there's no comment on here, G6. No comments on that.
I move for approval as amended, recognizing that it puts a burden on Mr. Mathis to be a little more efficient.
As efficient as possible.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was G5, this is G6, approval of tree removal vendor for sublaterals.
Okay, this is one of the things we did just with that item, I didn't mention it, but we had talked about it at a prior meeting, is that we had about $35,000 in the budget after all these moving around that could have been considered reserves. I went ahead, instead of making reserves, and allocated it to sublateral maintenance, but specifically tree removal, because what I'm finding out is that trees are impediment to many places within the district for proper maintenance, and in some cases for even proper flow. And this contract is the identification of two, and you have an additional paper on the dice for a third location, which would spend about half of that money, and then we'll come back at a later month, hopefully sooner than later, this fiscal year, to spend the rest of that for tree removal. We just need to find out what the highest priority tree removals are amongst all the ditches, and we're working on that now. And so this is just the first flush. One tree is a tree blown over by a hurricane that is leaning over the ditch and also leaning onto a power line, so that needs to be removed. The other is a series of Australian pines that have fallen into the ditch and are blocking the flow of water. And the third is a bank of Australian pines that is approaching into the flowway of the ditch. So those are the first three areas. The paper on the dais is asking to include in that first round some tree maintenance at the office in the shop compound, because there are issues at that because of deferred maintenance. There's trees that are crushing our fence. There's trees that are overhanging and causing saplings to grow out of our gutters. So we'd like to spend some money just picking up on some deferred maintenance at the building related to trees. And so that contract we did receive. I think I visited with 4 different firms and toured them on the areas. I received only 2 proposals. The one before you was about half the price of the second one. So this is a great deal. I really like the prices in here. Being at the city, I did a lot of tree removal and seen a lot of prices, and these are some good prices for some tree removal.
Did you work with, this is Perry Fulford's company, Orchid Island property, have you worked with him before?
They're actually a vendor that the city uses quite a bit. And like I said, they have a lot of experience with them, and they were very responsive. Like I said, we met before, there were only 1 and 2 who actually decided to come back and listen to it.
In my previous life, property management, we did a lot of work with some communities. I think they're pretty effective. Any comments, Mr. Turner?
Yes, we do have a comment from the public.
District council put together the agreement.
The agreement is our standard contract agreement. There are some areas in there that probably have typos. Someone told me I kept the word canal in there. I should change
I'd like
that
to put that as
sublaterals.
sublateral.
So I'm going to be changing the word canal to sublaterals before it gets signed.
That's a sign of my education on the board. I know the difference between canals and sublaterals. Okay, any other public discussion on that? Yes?
Yes.
This gentleman here, come to the podium.
Please come up so we can hear you a little bit.
You talked about 3 areas that have trees in that, growing the ditches in that. You know offhand what ditches they were?
Surprisingly, they were all 107. 2 of them were on the Park Lateral 107, and 1 of them was on the U 107. I'm sorry, I don't know the ditch number off the top of my head.
That's all.
Yes, sir.
I got a simple question.
Can you come to the mic? Can you come to
You can hear me.
Well, the microphone can't hear you, and I won't be able
If
to.
all y'all contractors gonna do like the park lateral, half-ass it and walk off?
I didn't quite understand the question. Can you say it again, please?
Park lateral.
Yes.
When's they gonna be fixed?
That's going to be on the agenda
Is it
later.
finished?
We're going to be on the agenda later talking about that,
Is
sir.
it finished?
We're going to be talking about that later on the agenda, sir.
Tonight?
No, let's talk about it. We need to get it done.
You're out of order.
We're
Please
going to
sit.
talk about it later on tonight, okay?
Get it done.
We're going to talk about it later tonight.
two quotes for 141st Street. They have different crews, compositions in them. Neither one gives a total number of days or a total maximum price. And then there's one for 107th Street. There was no proposal for the Willow Street office. So my request would be that you get the information and possibly get maximum amounts or maximum number of days for doing that.
We talked about that with the vendor. We can't do maximum cost because there's a charge per load. So there's an estimate per load. It's a weight-based thing, so they can't figure out that number until they go to the scale and weigh the trees they're putting in the dump. So there's an estimate for that, but we just can't do a max unless we do a lump sum. And usually they pay more for that because they're putting enough fat in there to make them happy.
Okay, so that wasn't, that charge wasn't even on the bill.
That's because it's gonna be estimated at the time of the language on that
I
document.
understand that, but what I'm questioning is the number of people. And does that mean that if we have one trimmer and two ground people, that it's gonna take half the price of the next quote, which has two trimmers and 5 ground people?
I'm not seeing this.
Are you referring to page 31 and 32?
Yes.
Yeah.
But for the same description of the work, when they have two different crew
Yes,
amounts?
she didn't know because when she works for the county requires a certain level of staffing, and she wasn't sure if I was going to be required the county's level of staffing. I said, no, I'm going to be looking for the most expensive way to get the trees out.
Okay.
So she had given me both of those at the front end, and I told her I'd be using the cheaper, which would be the one that doesn't have the double crew, so which would be the single crew.
Be
Okay.
page 31.
That's
All right,
good.
hands
But then there is no quote for the Willow Street.
The Willow Street was added, that was what's on the docket.
That's what added.
And all told, all three of them are about half of the budget that we have. So we'll have about another 15 to 16,000 to spend on the second round, hopefully in the next few months. And anybody who has priority trees you think that we should look at, please let me know, and I will take a look and see if they fall in this second round. Yes, sir.
My name is Matt, Matt Simmons. Do you hear me?
Very.
Yes, sir.
I live on 107. I've been there for about 22 years. I've asked for help, asked for help, asked for help. That ditch is worse than any ditch in this district. Y'all can't even do anything in this ditch because the son of a gun's on the wrong side. The ditch isn't even in the road area. If you line up those poles, those telephone poles, you actually cannot go straight. You go at an angle. The ditch is protruding on my property. All right? When the hurricanes hit, yeah, there's a lot of y'all went out there and helped because I take away everybody's water. It comes down my ditch. And oak trees growing in that. Y'all ain't done nothing to that thing for over 40 years. It's so grown up, I have to sit there, listen to me. I spit out I have equipment. I know what there is about clearing property, doing ditches. I own several companies. And also I know about the barrel mill, like that dump we've been dumping at for all these years. Up there in Park Ladder. I went down that ditch and did soil samples because I do know, I worked for NASA for 22 years. In lots of sections, and one of them was environmental. And y'all dumped back there oil, glass, fiberglass, God bless.
Who's dumped it back there?
Well, I understand that used to be a dumping ground years and years ago.
For the district or for somebody else?
Everybody.
Well, we can't do everybody.
Before I moved in here. But the thing is y'all had all that waste, environmental waste, because
Who did? We did? The district did?
I'm not very smart, okay?
Well, no, but I'm not saying you're not smart, sir, but I don't think we have any environmental waste that we're hauling off dumping anywhere. Maybe
Well,
somebody
all
else.
that dirt y'all pulled out of those ditches, all that top was soil. I got samples all the way down.
Is this the stuff that the city's doing and with the?
It's in the county, I don't know which one it is.
I think what you're saying is that you went down and pulled some of the soils.
Yes,
from
all the way
those pulled
down.
out of Park Lotto, and
Yes.
done some samples on them.
Yes.
So this would be some of the muck that's pulled out of Park Lotto, and he's saying that he's now testing.
And you see what they do is they take the dirt, they go pour it on somebody else's property, it got kind of, what do you call it, glass.
Glass, like bottles, like silica glass? I mean, like
Bottle.
windmill bottles?
Yes.
I'm looking at the map that you have marked, it's on 107. And there's a black line that says there's no access. Is that the area we're talking about?
No, I think you're talking Park Lotto side.
Yes, the Park
Yeah, it's
Lotto.
about the red on the other side. It's got the blue, the black dot at the end, the right end. So he's in that small red on the right. He's right here, somebody.
Oh, he's on the right side.
It is shown as a back ditch, so it is going to be prioritized for cleaning in the near future. I don't have a date to give you right now, but it is on our list to clean.
The power lines are so terrible, and the poles are breaking, and the poles are backed up. Come on down to my place, my farm, and I'll show you.
Is it, can I take you up on it? I'd really like to
Hey,
do that.
Mark, he's got a kind of a speech impediment, no, I know it. He's got a kind of a speech impediment, and I already told him I'm gonna get with you to take you down there.
Okay,
You
good.
live across the
Let
road.
me give a
I
shout
know
out to
the
this.
it's the way I think.
No, I appreciate you coming up and sharing with us. A little bit off topic, but if you're okay, I'll get with John, we'll come out and take a look, and we'll see
I
what we
really
can.
appreciate it, because I lost a ton of dirt with those, everybody's ditches. I would have took my equipment all night for 2 nights and opened up ditches so people wouldn't flood their property. That was on my time, my dollar. And not only that, but my house is ruined. My house was built in 1919. And every time it floods, all the water comes from the road down into my house and floods my house. And
I'm sorry for that, sir, and I appreciate it. But there's nothing we can do about that tonight, and Mark is gonna get with Mr. Savage, you're gonna come out and look at your property.
And the canal in general, so we can.
Yeah, not your property, but the canal area.
Yes, sir.
Well, I thank you, because I tell you, it's been neglected for many years.
Okay.
I used to clean the ditch, there's a beautiful oak tree in that ditch.
Okay.
And, the other thing too, is far power light, they decided because our.
Sir, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You'll have another chance for the public comment if you have some more stuff.
Thank you very much.
And Mark, so we're gonna grab that mic before he gets on the floor, that's probably what's wrong with
Yeah,
him.
we wait till 2 minutes.
Matt, set it on the thing there. Go on
There you
in.
go. Okay.
Sit in there, bro.
So I think we still, thank you for your
I
comment.
think we're still looking for a vote on the tree contract.
Pre-contract. So moved. Second? Okay, Mr. Nelson's in agreement. And that will be done within the next couple of months.
I'm sure she'll jump on it as soon as I get her, I'm sure she's gonna get the contract double signed, we'll get her out there.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're good.
Mark, I had asked to have a comment on that.
G6?
Yep.
Oh, okay, come on up.
Well, can I just do it from here, because as long as the mic doesn't
As
work?
long as you can, because it's not so much the mic, it's the minutes I have to get you on, that's all.
Thank you for paying attention to the trees, I appreciate that. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I appreciate that you're doing that. Did I hear you say,
Just be a little louder for those in the public that may be hearing.
did I hear you say that you got 2 bids?
I got 2 bids out of 4 people who come out and visit, yes.
I would just ask that when we go forward, do we get at least 3?
We can try to get as many as we want, but if they don't respond, they don't respond. And that's kind of where we're at.
It puts us in a difficult place, right? Because we want to do the work as quickly as possible, but if we spend a lot of time chasing bidders,
Yeah. And
it's not selling work.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this. I talked with somebody that's acquainted with that kind of tree work, and he said that was a reasonable bid, so that's That's great, just, you know, trying to do the best we can.
Oh, yes, of course.
We'll do, Mark will get as many bids as possible.
Thank you.
Sorry to miss you on
I have a comment.
that. Come on up or speak loud, please.
Yeah, I just didn't see the second bidder agenda book.
No, I didn't provide it.
It would help answer those questions to people if saying, okay, how many bids did you get?
Yeah, I think in the future I'll do a good summary.
And it would behoove the board if you created your own policy for purchasing where you don't have, because these seem like low numbers to me, given my line of work, but, because the statute gives you powers of a certain amount of expenditure without having to go out and bid. And
Correct.
you create a policy that spells all that out so that answers all our questions for the
That's
policy.
definitely on your to-do list, but thank you. Appreciate it.
Moving on to item number 7 on new business.
Approval of easement form. So one of the other things I've determined is an issue in the district is access to the sublaterals for maintenance. You probably already heard me say this before, that our ditches have grown from 20 feet in their original cross-section to over 30 feet in today's world, many of them at 35 feet, which means the roads you all drive in are really not much on district property. And those roads are not real roads. They're your private property that if you have a disgruntled neighbor, it can cause problems for not just you, but the district as well. And so, and it's not just that, at the end of every ditch, everybody likes to block off that last lot because nobody else needs it. And I don't even have access to even maintain it at that point. And so, this is a form that we would use to go out over time to try to obtain easements to legalize the access which we use. Our attorney has previously opined that we do not have prescriptive easement rights. He showed me a court case that was spot on to what we're trying to do.
Why don't you explain prescriptive?
Prescriptive easements are if you do something over as a government and even as a private person, saying for a number of years, you become to have a right for it. And we obviously use those roads for 100 years to maintain the ditches, so we should have a right to them, but we don't according to this court case.
When you say roads, I mean, we have obviously public roads.
I'm not talking about those, I'm talking about all the roads that parallel the sublaterals, which are not public roads. They are just an expansion of a dirt path that's been created by people driving over it for 100 years.
I'm just not familiar with that person, yeah.
And
So
so
that's-
again, what I would like is if the board is okay with this easement form, it's been drafted by the attorney in the district. We've gone over it a couple of times, made some tweaks to it, so the attorney is on board with the form and function of the easement. And I would like authority, if possible, if you're comfortable, to allow me to execute the easements, so I don't have to bring them all back to the board each time I process one. And then the method that I would choose to go forward is still being discussed, not just internally with myself, but also with the group of citizens who are helping me out, because I think they can be a big help in explaining to the public why this is there and why we're asking for it. Because I don't want to create alarm on this, but it is something I think that legally would help protect the district in the future, particularly for that one disgruntled property owner who calls for all this.
And this is, I'm not an attorney, but this is a non-exclusive easement, which means
Correct.
you can have many non-exclusive easements. FP&L may have some, water and sewer may have some, so this is not, I would just trust that the legal counsel has done it correctly here. Richard, I don't know if you have any comments on the form?
I've reviewed the form, I find it acceptable. I move to adopt.
Second? Okay, no,
Now it's motion,
no.
any public comment?
You can't approve it for the comment.
We haven't.
Haven't yet.
Just had motions and.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In looking at the document, it seems to be very, very broad
is a long-term thing, I have no problem not acting on it tonight, if you want to give them a chance to look at it a little further. I will remind you, though, this is not an easement for any place above the road, so nobody's gonna hopefully be storing things on the road or putting landscaping in the road, so this is
Yeah, I'm
not.
curious, what would be the jurisdictional right for you to store materials in the road?
I don't believe it said that it was in the road. It says on the property.
Because that road is on your property.
The easement area would be described.
Okay. I've been told that there are easements and right-of-ways that each property has. I have been looking for 3 weeks. I can't find any description of where my property ends and where the road begins or what the right-of-way is for Fellsmere Water.
Did you get a title insurance policy and survey of the law?
I think they went off of the ones that were already in existence. We didn't do a specific survey. And when I look back at the plat book, the document in there is from 1911, and it
That's
says, yeah, it says that it's in there for, it's in St. Lucie County, and I haven't been able to find
That's
anything there.
This used to be St. Lucie County.
No,
Don't need
I
more
understand
counties.
that, but
Yeah.
all the documents are down there, and I can't find anything other than that one handwritten sheet of paper,
If you could find your title insurance policy,
okay?
that would be probably your most helpful document.
Okay. I'll check that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I've only been over here 4.5 years, so I have all that on mine, it doesn't show any easement or anything, but, I reference easement area in this.
So speak up a little bit, please.
Okay, so you reference easement area in your easement document that you were moving approved, and it doesn't describe what the easement area that.
It's not going to describe it until we deal with each property, because each easement's going to have a different legal description.
Typically,
The
you
easement
stand
area-
the offset of the center of the ditch.
The easement area could be added with an exhibit A, and they do that for each.
Yeah, okay, so basically you're just trying to move forward with a step to start this process? Is that basically what this is? Is that your intent?
Just to get a form, because if we can't help clean the ditches if we can't get access. So it's just a process. This is
And
not-
yes, I do support the idea of postponing action and letting the citizens look a little more deeper at this, have them determine if they want on their own. And if there is a recommendation to put a general description like you say, we can do that, but there'll still be an exhibit A with the actual legal description.
How does this compare to your water control plan right-of-way verbiage that you have in there?
Again, we're not,
Because that was public approved, and that's technically your guidance document, and it clearly says you have a right-of-way to access your ditch.
and that right of way has been absorbed by the expansion of the ditch, and we no longer have access to it.
So the ditches have expanded since 2000 when that was.
Since 1911.
Well, it was written in 2000. The water control plan was said it needed to expand the ditches, but from what I've talked to the residents of Benner, that long, those ditches are now expanded, so that's what it says.
The ditches almost get expanded every time you clean it, because you just can't grab the soil right off the top and the grass off the top. You get a little bit of topsoil every time you dig.
I was just asking.
And before you say anything, we will concede that this is haven't been cleaned regularly, so we don't need to debate that.
Okay, I just
But
wanted.
yes,
I
this
just
is
wanted
the
to
first
make
step
sure
of
that
the,
you
this is the first step of a long process, and that might be a good idea to add the general thing to guide. Again, I'm not looking for easements anywhere except parallel to the ditch.
So we can need so many feet, it's pretty much said that for all of them, so it's saying you need 20 feet or.
Well, the only reason I could run into an owner who says, I'm not giving you 25, I'll give you 15.
And you can't do that because the ditch may not be in the location that it was originally in. So if you draw it from the ditch, you may end up in property that you weren't talking to the proper grantor about.
But make a good point, and again, I hopefully,
I think let's just table any further action on this until we have some more debate on it. This is just an attempt to make progress. Doesn't have to be done today.
Can I make a
Motion to
suggestion?
table.
please speak loud so we hear you.
If I could make
Okay.
one quick suggestion, as we were saying, if you can put some type of description that you're looking for the roadway, the existing roadway adjacent to each sub, that will go a long way to easing the fears of the people that you're gonna be talking to. So if you can make that clear, that it's the roadway adjacent to your ditch, so that people don't think you're coming in and taking their front 25 feet of their property. That's all.
It's not a deed, it's an easement. Yes, sir, on this topic?
Yes, yes, like, y'all have an easement through, between property. I take care of that. And when the Florida Power line came in, our lines were so bad, they wanted to do an underground building. And because the road is so messed up, they're not gonna do it. The telephone poles are falling down. And if the lines are in terrible shape,
That's not, I appreciate your comments, sir, but that's not our responsibility.
okay?
And Mark's gonna come out and look at it, and we'll try and do everything, he will try and do everything we can to help you, okay? Thank you very much.
Yeah, let Mark come out and look
Yeah.
at it, because he's the manager. Yeah.
So, we're up down to number 8.
Motion table?
Yeah. We had a private vote.
Okay. All right.
Page 41, government property exemption.
This is just, when I was doing the budget, seeing we were paying property taxes, I said, that don't make any sense. I thought governments were exempt, and so I looked it up, and sure enough, special districts are exempt. And so, this is just on here to get authority to pen a letter to the tax collector or the county, and, to get those taxes waived in the future.
In those
It's about
tax,
$1,000 a year we pay.
that tax would be on our district office.
And we actually own a small lot on Lincoln Street in the Hall Park neighborhood, which I may come back in the near future and ask for it to be made surplus. For now, there's 2 pieces.
Mr. Cardinelli, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, we should be exempt.
Good.
I
So,
got one, Marcus.
we're talking about the office being exempt from taxes.
Yes,
So-
it's just the office,
Yes.
okay?
The office and the shop.
And so, is this the same thing like fuel and stuff? Because like when you're,
No, that's not, that's a use tax. This is property.
We already have
Ad
our
valorem
sales
tax.
tax.
Ad valorem tax. And also, I would ask this a refund too for previous years.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
You get it 4 years.
I think the microphones are out.
For you.
I think the microphones are out again.
Are they out of here?
Yeah.
Testing.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello.
There we go.
We're back. I think that completes the new business section.
Did we get a motion vote on that?
We did, didn't we?
I don't know.
Okay.
So-
Yes.
Been tabled.
No,
That's not the
one
exemption.
before that. Second? Aye.
Aye.
Greg's got an aye. Okay. So that completes new business item 8. Now we move to manager's matters under H, financials for November.
So, I'm still building the financial spreadsheet that will be used going forward, but this is fairly accurate with regards to November and the year to date. And I wanted to basically use this item also to talk about whether or not the board still has an interest in a change of bank. I did finally read here from I think that they are ready to accept public deposits. And so I just wanted to see if that was an action and count of the board would like me to proceed with. If so, I'll bring back the motion at the March meeting, the resolution will be moving forward at that time.
Well, I'll speak. I do like the idea of banking locally. Although after we met with PNC and the services that they offer, I'm not sure if I think can compare to that.
They do offer some good services, and we had to reach out a couple times to them, and they just have some really good customer service. And so I am a little concerned too about losing what is seemingly a good service in banking and online system through PNC. And unfortunately, I'm not sure I'll be able to figure out how well I think it is without getting into a relationship with them.
Well, it may be that case that we keep our PNC relationship put some, because obviously there'll be excess cash at the beginning of the year. Maybe there's some things we can do with I think to spread the wealth.
And also get a chance to see how they operate. If they are good, we can then make a full change later.
My biggest concern is obviously the receipts coming in from the property tax collector and the system to be able to monitor that electronically. And so I would want to make sure we got apples and apples on that. But I think certainly we can compare what PNC could do versus I think in terms of any type of your short-term investments with excess cash and maybe spread it around. Richard, do you have any comment?
Good comment.
Greg, do you have any comment? Yeah.
So I will bring back a motion not to change banks, but to create a second bank with a policy.
Yeah, I think we need an analysis of comparing one to the other and the ability to what their short-term investment rates might be. Which obviously would be subject to change at that moment in time.
Okay. That's all I have in number one. Number two, November and December managers report. And this is an opportunity for me to express to the board and the public what I do, pretty much all day long. And I break it down into administration, and then I talk about the issues I'm having in administration. I break it down into operation, the issues I'm having in operation. I also talk about capital. We're not doing capital now, so there's really nothing there. And then I kind of give a quick snapshot of what I'm going to be doing the following month. And so if you have any questions on these reports, I'll be glad to answer them, but they're here for information purposes.
This was one of the things that at least I tried to initiate with the former group and we were able to do with Mark. I think it's important. I know there's a tremendous lack of trust from our constituents, and I think we need to have as much accountability as we can. And I think this is a way that you could look online, and all these documents, if you're not aware of, are online on our website in advance of the meeting.
Well, yes, they're online through the agenda. But
Yeah.
over time, I'll probably also be creating a separate spot just for manager reports, so it'll be easy to grab.
So I think it's important that way, communication obviously is, you don't know what we're doing, you can't appreciate it, and again, we're all in this together, so I think that's a good idea. I think that's a very positive step. And I applaud Mark for doing that.
Thank you, Dan.
Let's go to 48, Canal.
Status of canal maintenance contracts. This is the one I think the gentleman wanted to talk about in the audience. And so, the main canal lateral, we're done. 100% done, 100% paid, project's closed out. Park lateral was 99% done with the bank clearing and the canal cleanup. They had not begun the maintenance strip cleanup. And Florida Wildlife Conservation Commission came and put a stop on the project because they saw the gopher turtles crossing the road. And although we had gotten clearance from St. John's to do the work without a permit, St. John's failed to address the gopher turtle stuff, so WC stepped in and addressed it, but unfortunately we've done all the clearing already. And unfortunately, an after-the-fact permit is a lot more expensive than a before-the-fact permit. And to the tune of $5,000 per burrow. And since you don't know how many burrows are there because you've already cleared and disrupted them or destroyed them, they have a formula to figure out how many burrows could have been there. That formula at $5,000 per burrow would be close to about $100,000 penalty. And they have an allowance in their law that if you leave the site undisturbed for 18 months, that violation disappears and you can start as if it's a brand new project. And you would start then with the gopher tortoise survey and either do the avoidance or the relocation before you put your heavy machinery on that bank. My recommendation is to do that. Whether we go back in 18 months or 5 years or 10 years, that's the question. But to spend that kind of money is not feasible in the position we are right now in the district financially. And so that alone would almost force us to go at least 18-month hold, and at that point we can come back, or we may wait and come back and we actually go back and do another major canal cleanup. It doesn't matter if you want, it'll be the same. We still have to go out there and do the gopher tortoise, we still have to go out there and grind up what's grown up, and basically recreate the maintenance path. And so on that one, those are our options. wait 18 months, start fresh, or wait a longer period that lines up with the next major canal maintenance project and do it at that time. I do want to hear from the public on that, because I think they might have some thoughts and concerns about that, but without hearing from them, my comment would be to wait until the next major canal. But that does mean, though, that that bank is going to overgrow and become unsightly. It'll be, new saplings will grow, new palms will grow, grasses will grow, and it'll come almost back to the way it was before, but maybe not with big trees, but just small ones. It's not an area that anybody uses. The road is not affected by this. It is just an open space area next to the canal. But again, the public may have some comments on that. But that would be my recommendation, if you put that project on hold. The contractor's on board for this. In fact, they've already provided a upfront easement for the retainage, which we would hope because they do have a retainage fee for the work they've already done. But they're more than happy with that. They have no issue with closing the contract. They'll go either way, actually.
And that promotes a bit of a savings for us at this instant moment,
A lot of savings, not really, a lot.
approximately.
Over.
Let's take out the penalty, just the contractor.
I didn't look at his invoice before he came, so I unfortunately don't have that number for you today. I can get that to you, but I would say he's probably at about 40 or 50,000 left for. I'm sorry,
40 or
50,000.
50,000.
And that's just off the top, yes. I really need to go back and look at his last invoice to see where he is. But basically, it's the amount of money he put in the contract for cleaning up the top of the bank, which is one of the tax. And since he's not doing that, all that comes to us. And so, I think it's between 40 and 50. It could be low, high.
I'm not familiar with the instant location, but is it really unsightly and doesn't really affect us, the ability to drain water?
It doesn't affect the drained water. It does affect us to mow that. So, and again, we don't usually mow the canals anyway. So it's not going to hurt us from spraying. We'll still be able to spray, and we can obviously maintain some of the upland vegetation being spraying if that's our choice. But no, it doesn't affect us spraying the canal or water-based plants that may grow or the slope plants that may grow. We just won't be able to drive on it. But again, we don't do
Do we drive on it now?
We don't do them on canals because they're not a regular maintenance thing like sublaterals are. Sorry.
And any maintenance we do on those is primarily aerial spraying?
Aerial spraying is all we do on canals except for infrequent major cleanings. And we haven't really set a policy of when those infrequent cleanings would be. Our water control plan implies that the sublaterals are at least once every 5 years. I don't think it speaks to how often a major canal would be done. It's really just what we had to be needed based on sandbars and other impediments.
But we know it's completed now, so we're
Well,
starting
not
to see
100% completed. They got about 90%. They were at the very, very north end when the stop order came. And so there are a few high spots that would probably be nice to clean up, but they're not terrible impediments. And as Mr. Simons had said a while back, that more than likely flows are going to flatten those high spots anyway. And so they're probably going to be that bad over time. But yes, I mean, we're already seeing new sandbars created by the sublateral. So at some point we'll be out there redoing that major project. And I'm thinking a 10-year time frame or maybe even 15 or 20. We'll just have to monitor that and see what would be the proper time frame to go back.
Okay.
I'd like to hear from the public.
Okay.
Please come up and speak loud so we can all hear you.
I can speak loud from here. I would like to have signs put up in the park lateral that dumping, you will be prosecuted because it's going to end up being a dump, just like it was before, with people dumping trash there. If you have a sign up, then they can be reported and get it seen to. I think that we need that to keep the trash off that.
We already are getting trash on that property.
Because I've been here since 1986, and that was a dump before.
Okay.
And I don't normally see it like that again. And I'm
Ma'am, we'll
sorry
have to
for it else.
Ma'am, we'll have to take a look to see if we actually have legislative authority to do that.
Okay, that would, I appreciate it, those,
And your contractor let trash out there. Your contractor let trash out there.
Which one?
The one in the park lateral. Park lateral.
Has it been cleaned up now?
And no, it hasn't. That was what they were going to do when they did the cleanup of this. They were going to scrape it all off and clean up at that time.
to be able to excavate the hole and take the tortoise out, if there's one there. Usually there's 3 or 4. If that is the case, you're closer to $20,000 per hole. Most holes are usually live. There are several environmental firms that can come out and do the inspections for you and give you surveys. I think it's money thrown away if you do, because we know there's tortoises there. FWC had me arrested and put in the back of a sheriff's department car and taken to the jailhouse for molestation of a tortoise because my company cleared where there was one tortoise burrow, and they are serious about it. So the only thing you can really do is spend the $500,000 or however many thousands that it's going to take to remove all of those tortoises, or leave it be. I would suggest they do have signs that say that you can get from FWC, and this would help with your problem with the signs, that say tortoise area, do not enter, do not disturb, and it does have a statute number on it that says, you know, basically, come in here and we'll arrest you. And they do arrest you.
Thank you. What was the number, because I didn't hear the first number.
$8,539 per hole.
Say that
And that's
one
with
more time.
one tortoise. $8,539 per hole with one tortoise.
So I would like it to okay with the board, let's talk about this, a motion to officially carry that project if I'm the king.
Maybe I should never get a phone. Just talk about that.
I get carried, I get carried.
I'm not going to jail again.
Yes, sir. Who's responsible to, like, before you go and start digging, who's responsible to search for tortoise to begin with? I mean, who?
Well, again, this was more than likely just poor communication from St. John's regarding our previous clearance. But to answer your question, it would be the district and who we would assign to that project. We would hire an environmental consultant who would go out and do the Gopher Tortoise survey.
Landowner.
Contractor's responsibility.
It can be put on the contractor, but it's not usually put on the contractor because we're not in that business. So usually you hire a specialty consultant to do that special type of work.
And that was Frank Sakuma was the manager at the time, correct? We had or the engineer, who would say we need
It would be me.
a manager, which was
It
Frank?
would be me.
Right. Yeah. That's good.
They take you to jail.
Yes.
Designated jail experience. I prefer let it be, and see what we need to do later.
So that would be a second for the motion of canceling the current contract and continue subject to picking up trash.
So moved as amended.
Greg, do you have any comment?
No, I agree.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
That's
Unanimous.
18 months, right?
Well, no, we didn't make a motion on when we're gonna go back. We just,
Okay.
at this point, decided to hold it. We have not decided when we're gonna go back.
Hold.
So the question is,
Second, please.
so I think, we investigate the no dumping signs, I think that makes good sense. But, so is it,
I like to put the tortoise sign too, so.
Yeah.
I can do that too.
so is it a very unsightly condition now? I mean, is it?
It's no more unsightly than any of our sublaterals with tall grass along the top of the bank. And that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
If you
this
mow
is-
once a year, or you spray twice a year, you're gonna get that.
This is at the north end of the park?
No, this is the entire place. The entire park.
Grant's right here, Grant says something.
There are, on Park Battle, there are some signs for, the county ordinance to put out there, they're very small, little white signs, but they're on the west side of Park Battle. They're not over there, so you could possibly even get with the county, because it's county ordinance,
Yeah.
to possibly put up more signs.
We would probably have to pay for the signs, since it's on our
Right,
property.
we clear all that stuff out, and put some signs on there, to make sure nobody's dumping stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Number 4, draft 5-year plan.
This is the first discussion of this, so there's no action on this tonight. And this is the version I shared with the citizens group. And it's not my recommendation to the board, it's just what I started with, and I didn't tweak it based on that citizen meeting. But basically, it tries to set up, again, this is not meant to be an exact budget for the next 5 years down the road. But, you know, a representation, best guess as you can at this point. And there's a few things that really come into play. And I don't want to look so much at this, I want to talk about the priorities. Let's talk about the priorities over the next few years.
Yeah, let me interrupt you just a second. To me, a plan would be a narrative. This would be a schedule.
I would be scheduling.
But what is the process, you know, what are the frequencies? What are we going to do? Are we going to go with an employee? Are we going to go with subcontracting as things change?
So this is what I would like to recommend. Over the next few years, I think we need to put a substantial sum of money for a tree care. I would be recommending around $50,000 a year for the next few years to see how much of a dent we can make in tree care, so we can have access to those areas we can't access, so we can take care of those spots that have heavy Australians. So that's the one thing that I would recommend over a 5-year plan. And the other thing I would recommend is that we get back to 2 times a year spraying. I really think that spraying is going to be important. Our water control plan does talk about 2 times a year. I know we took time off this year because we mechanically cleaned everything, but in the 4 months these canals have been done, they've already grown a substantial amount on the banks and the top of the bank. And so it doesn't take long for Florida to really revegetate a disturbed area. And if we wait, you know, a year and a half to spray, you're going to end up having a lot more to deal with than if you just keep it contained. And so, you know, starting next year, I strongly encourage you to go back to twice a year. That's both on the ditches and the canals. And we may even be able to avoid mowing it, because at the end of the day, the mowing and the spraying are very similar. The only difference is mowing creates pieces that actually end up in the ditch, whereas spraying, they're still attached to the roots, but they're dead, and they end up in the ditch over time, but not all at once through a cutting exercise. Although some ends up on the banks and on the top, which is the point there. The other thing, obviously, is throwing some money in there for potential easement access. The sad part about easements is it'd be nice if everyone realized the value and benefit of their easement for their own property. They need to maintain the canals, but there's going to be some people out there who want some money for their easement. And the state law is very clear. If you can't negotiate an free exchange, you have to pay. And so, you know, that might be one of the
That'd be
things
my
that-
second choice.
Yeah.
What did you say, Mark?
I said not all property owners may be willing to give us an easement. Some may hold out for money.
And then what was the option to it?
What are the options?
No, I thought you had said an option to it, like, hey,
No, the taking you still have to pay. You still have to pay.
I thought,
Now, the state law requires you to keep negotiating on good terms, you gotta pay fair market value. It's pretty clear. So, you know, the access is a big thing, I think, for us. The spraying I've already mentioned. The other thing is obviously about the district split that's been talked about. It's been attempted a couple times before. The community that I talk with on a regular basis, you know, once a month, it's kind of expressed their desire to slow that a little bit, only because we need to get our house in order before we start talking about splitting it and give it to somebody. And so I honestly feel with Rob on the machine as much as possible, we're going to be in great shape. Great to get a strong word. Certainly much better shape come October 1, which will be the next fiscal year. So although they may ask us to go slow, I may think that come October 1, 2025, we may be in a position where the community may be willing to have that conversation. And if they are, you know, we have to build a budget, unfortunately, by June. We have to be putting money in that budget then, although we could always do a budget amendment to bring it in, you know, after October 1. But that's another consideration. We don't need decisions now because this is just the first time we've seen it.
Yeah. Well, to me, I think we need a narrative that goes with this. You know, I'm not as much concerned about the numbers at this point as what's the
So when I bring it
motivation.
back to the next point, how about I just give it that narrative
Yeah.
cycle like
I think
that? sorry, I was picking up every
And at
other.
the bottom there, your west pump basin, gravity basin, and direct fill, that's the revenue for this 5-year plan?
That's the, more than, well, yes, if you add them all together, yes, that bottom total, 800,000, 874, 842, 752, yeah, that's the total.
So I don't see anything, so you're spending every dollar in this budget. There doesn't seem to be any contingency anywhere or fund for emergencies anywhere in this.
I thought I put reserves in here, yeah, it's up on the top, it's $100,000 a year.
Oh, reserves?
Yeah, $100,000 a year. Now, actually, I've actually lowered that.
Oh, there it is, okay, it's hidden in the middle, okay, I got it.
It's hidden. The last budget draft I put together for next year, I lowered that to 75 because state statute talks about a 10% retainage. So I would want to go with 10% because that's what the statute's talking about.
Anyway, I think I'm ready to terminate the discussion on
Yes,
this.
sir.
It's really, we're not going to accomplish anything. You've heard our comments, heard my comments, Mark and Richard, you. I agree.
We did have someone from the comment public, I think, who wanted to speak on this issue. Hello?
Yeah, I did, Mark, but Mr. Kurtz addressed it. I would also like to see a narrative to say what the situation is, what the objectives are, what the timeline is, all that.
You got it.
But once we agree on something,
First time for everything, right?
right? Okay, sublateral cleaning.
Inspection. So what I've tried to provide is the updated form that I use as well as Rob's maintenance log. Again, kudos to our citizens who helped us put together this. It's really great. You don't have it in your version, but since I released the agenda, I'm actually adding more information to this. So on the next iteration of this, the public's going to be able to see when each ditch was inspected, when the ditch was last cleaned. They're also going to be able to see any major issues with that ditch with words like trees, washout, blockage. That's going to help Rob and I prioritize the ditch. If the ditch is bad, just like another ditch, but the other ditch has a blockage, I'm going to do the blockage ditch first. So you may be red, but you may not be prioritized because there's other reds with special issues that need to be taken care of. And so by putting that on here, I have one stop. I can look and see, okay, where do we need to go for the next priority?
Who's preparing this exhibit?
I'm preparing the exhibit.
Well, but no, who does it?
I do the exhibit. They just prepared the background for me, which was very kind of them.
Who puts the nice red lines on?
I do all that.
You do that?
I do.
Without wanting to
They
do that?
created it though, so I'm giving them the credit.
Mark's done a good job.
Okay, I think that's it.
And for those
A
who
lot of
asked me
information.
for priorities, Rob and I sat down for priorities, and this is where we're gonna go. Rob finished up today on 87th, I think it was, he was doing. And he's gonna go up to PL 7. Then he's gonna go to PL 11. Then he's gonna go to PL 17. Then he's gonna go to U 18. PL 7, because PL 7 has a washout and blockage. And it's a bad ditch.
Can you just run that back by me for a
PL
second?
7,
PL 7,
PL 11,
PL 11,
PL 17,
PL 17,
U 19.
U 19.
That doesn't mean that that won't change, especially if I go meet this gentleman and find out that he's got a high priority. I would certainly, but right now, with the data I have, those would be my priorities.
So you're not going to 85th after 87th?
No, I don't do it in that order. I try to get the worst of the worst
No,
first.
that's cool, that's cool, you had said a long time ago.
That I might be going there, right?
Okay.
And now looking at this map, I've actually got most of the ditches inspected. I got a few left to do, but I've managed to get my eyes on
I
all
get
of
a
them.
copy of that.
Yes, sir.
Mark, I'm just curious, there's a north-south ditch on the east side
Yes.
of the village area of Fellsmere. How do you designate that?
That's called the bypass ditch.
Bypass?
The north bypass ditch and the south bypass ditch. North of 512, south of 512.
Is
Those
it-
have not been inspected yet, but those need to be inspected.
Thank you.
Where's that at?
The north bypass ditch and the south bypass ditch. The north bypass ditch goes right behind our office. And the
Okay.
south bypass ditch is a little further east. I don't know how far, maybe 100 yards, 200 yards east. But they basically stop the flow of all the ditches going into the city, and they bypass
Oh, okay.
around the city.
I got you, yeah, I know.
And so that's all I have on this, so any public wants to see where Rob's been at, he has it by day here, all that stuff. You have somebody in the public, yes, sir?
Jed hasn't spoken.
I'm sorry, Jed, you missed your.
No, I got the map in my computer, and I know some of the residents here don't have, what you have, so I've converted it to street numbers, if you don't mind me talking.
Go right ahead.
So PL7 is gonna be the next, priority sublateral, that's 111th Street. PL11, after PL7, that's 103rd Street. PL17, that's 91st Street, and U19 is 87th Street. The ones that have PL are east of Babcock, and the ones we'd use are west of Babcock, just to make sure that that's clear to everybody that might be confused and don't have that map.
Okay, I have a couple things. First of all, you mentioned that Rob was gonna be on that machine and keep cleaning all the ditches and stuff out. We had met with you before and asked you about the contract and the hours that machine has for the current lease. Did you look into that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you worried you're gonna go over that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you know how much it is per hour after you've gone over?
Yes, sir.
Have you budgeted for that?
We're not gonna have to pay that. We're gonna renegotiate the lease.
Good.
Good.
Okay, that was a worry that we had because.
Oh,
previously.
there's no way I can pay
we
that.
had.
If I paid that rate for the hours I think we're gonna be over, it'd be over $1 million.
I was thinking I'm gonna run out of work.
That's
That's at least how quick.
I appreciate you brought that to my attention. Thank you for
Your
that.
mic just went out.
You might just,
Thank you. Right on
Sorry.
the 15-minute mark, right?
maybe 30, huh?
Next time it goes out, we're
We
done.
definitely need more hours. We're gonna definitely need more hours on that excavator.
So I just got off the phone with Kelly Tractors, who was our dealer, and they're gonna call me back to tell me how to move forward with the renegotiating the lease. I did tell them though I may need a couple of months more data to know how many hours I need, because right now Rob missed a lot of December, he was sick a lot, vacation, so I need a little bit more data to see how many hours he's putting per month, so I can do a good estimate. But yes, we are gonna work on that. Otherwise, we're gonna run out of hours probably before he retires, right around when he retires.
Right.
That leaves another year of machine that we can't use without paying a big thing. So yeah, we're working on that.
Yes, that was the main concern.
Thank you, guys, good catch.
Move on to number 6, fee schedule. I noticed, you may be updated numbers, but the whole narrative at the top needs to be changed. It's got
Yes, it does.
special district services.
It does need to be changed. I brought this to you so because it shows the permit fee levels there at the top page. And in talking with our residents, they felt that we should adjust these fees, particularly for new pipes. Not so much for replacements because they've already paid their due, but for new pipes, the additional fee can also somewhat cover some of the additional work that's sometimes needed. For example, there's a conflict we're dealing with right now on a property owner putting a pipe, and he's on a stretch where there's a lot of Australian pines. It'd be nice while they're out there putting in this pipe, destroying some of the pines, to take the rest of the pines out. But we're trying to find out if that's something we can require, but if we can't, having a higher permit fee for a new pipe would allow us to go spend that money and take out those Australian pines and basically make that stretch work. It's almost like a connection fee, not really an impact fee, but we raise the fee, we can address more of the impacts of a new pipe because the impacts of the replacement pipe are somewhat already absorbed into the system. Whereas a new pipe is,
So is this scheduled in what we're charging now?
this is what we're charging now.
Is there a recommendation?
First of all, I just wanted to make sure you're okay with raising it, so I would bring that back as a resolution at the next meeting with the
I think that'd be a great,
At a minimum, I would go 1,000 for a new pipe, it might even be higher.
I think that'd be a great discussion with your public committee.
And again, they're the ones who brought it to our attention, so at our next meeting, we're going to talk about refining those numbers, what they do.
Very good. Moving on, page 54, State Park stormwater runoff.
Thank you. This is going to take a little bit of discussion. At our last meeting, I was asked to reach out and restart the conversation with the state park and their owners about the flow of water and the project they're required to do through the purchase agreement. Mr. Nelson, our president, actually reached out to Doug Burdine at the St. John's board as the first reach out, and it was a very positive conversation, and the district felt that the best course of action would be to modify the 2006 plan to merge it with the needs of the park which is a fire access road further west than where the original plan was. The original plan was to basically take Willow and put all the plugs in there, and then the dikes or berms to kind of manage the flow. Now they're going to move it further west where they want the fire road, and not do a full plug, but do a reduced pipe, kind of like a flow restrictor. Still do the berms, and at the end of the day, they would provide an analysis to us as part of the permit application that showed that the minimum 10% reduction that they would need. So it really, after this meeting here, being my responsibility, if the board directs us to move forward in that way, is to direct the state park to submit the permit app with these new thoughts in mind. And then once that permit app comes back and see the flow reduction, we need to have a conversation about whether to assess them. I've already started drafting next year's budget with two avenues, one without the state park in and one with the state park in, not necessarily in the district, because they are in the district. When I say in, I mean assessments. And there's two ways to look at the assessments too, because if they're not getting any mechanical treatment of their ditches, they're not getting any spraying of their ditches, they may want to argue they shouldn't have to pay. But that's not quite accurate in my perspective, because their water is going through our sublaterals, it's going through our canals, and we have to spray and maintain those, not just for other people's water, but for their water as well. So to me, I think the only reduction they should possibly get would be whatever percentage they reduce the flow. And so if they reduce the flow by 10%, maybe we give them a 10% reduction.
If they create a fire road, I assume that's a berm, and some of the elevation will hold back somewhere as well.
I don't know that until they submit the plan.
Would that not make sense?
I like the plan. I think the original plan was fine too, but
Yeah, I mean, if you build, you're gonna have a road bed.
Yeah, your suggestion here, Mark, just to remind you, is to have them resubmit the permit application, which would be reviewed by the Fellsmere Water Control District's engineer for a final recommendation to the board. Maybe that's what ought to happen, and then you'll have the detail necessary to have the discussion.
correct. So I
I'd
would
like to
say
make
that
that
we don't.
motion.
So,
Second.
Any public comment?
I just have a question. You said they want to build the fire road west of Willow?
Yes.
Where's the park west of Willow?
They have a lot of park west of Willow. Not near the southern end of the park, but as you go north, the park moves to the west.
Oh, it
As you go north, there's a lot more land west of Willow than there is at the south.
Okay, thank you.
So they're gonna move it like, it makes like a cone, so they're gonna move it to the fence line.
Again, they need to submit an application
yeah,
first.
that's the point of the permit application.
The old permit application or the drawings showed it off of Willow anyways, I believe.
It actually wasn't a permit drawing, it was actually just a study they did. But yes,
Yellow
it
dots
was
on
on
that
Willow.
one for the pipes.
Yes, sir.
Back to the connection fees, because I know that was my suggestion early on, and because I'm a manager and I use those, and I think that's gonna benefit the district a lot more than a permit increase, because you'll have people skirt permits, you'll have situations where the permit may not be enough for the growth we're coming. The permit fee for a new pipe is not gonna be the same as the amount of impervious ground calculation it's gonna affect your system as a whole.
We've already had, I appreciate your comments. We've closed that, we're moving on, so you can bring me back to, come back to it.
We'll talk more about that at our citizen meeting, because it'll be on our agenda.
So,
So
last, citizens.
did we vote on the state park thing?
No, we did not.
We made a
Okay,
motion,
motion,
we have
vote.
comments.
Got it.
Any other comments on the state park issue?
Yes, one, because in your minutes that you approved today, talked about the $20,500 for 10% runoff. Is that something you approached them with already?
They submitted the plan to solve that issue in 2006, so they met their obligation.
So we talked about this last meeting, and since then, there was gonna be some communication with them according to the last meeting.
Yes.
Has there been any communication about that?
Yes, I started the whole presentation that President Nelson.
So they're gonna submit that?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
They submitted the plan, but it was never enacted from what I
Correct.
understand. Is that
Because
correct?
we didn't act on it.
What did we have to do?
We had to say, yes, we like your plan, please submit a permit.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Vote in the affirmative. Okay.
And the citizen committee meeting, that's conversation, so they're fine.
I would just like to echo that. I think that's a great communication tool. I think it's builds some more camaraderie. So, we have anything from the engineer?
Yes, I'll give you an update on some of the projects that we've been reviewing.
Who's Mike?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my update is going to be regarding developments that have been submitted to the district for approvals. And one of them is a subdivision called Marion Estates. I think I brought it up at the last meeting. They are adding a lot of houses south of County Road 512 and just east of Park Lateral. So they're at the downstream end of ditch 16, 17, and 18. They kind of occupy that area. And my concern and what I've asked them to do on the plan was show the cross sections of the ditch with maintenance access shown on their plans before we approve it. And they haven't addressed my comments. They verbally said that they were going to do it, but I haven't seen it in writing and haven't seen it on their plan. And the other thing is, if we're going to have an access road in somebody's backyard, because the houses come up to the ditches, at least some of the houses do, that they need some deed restrictions so that the people owning that house don't build swing sets and whatnot, where we need to access the ditch. So that is being discussed. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to review the documents, make sure that the language is adequate for our needs before they get recorded. And that's where that one stands. They are moving forward with the city process to get their approvals from the city. So I sent the REI, the request for the additional information, to the city manager, and I heard back from them yesterday that they were understanding the comments, and they were going to make sure that the applicant's engineer added those details. Another project, John & Sons, they're a clearing company that has equipment they store off of County Road 512, south side of County Road 512, just as you enter the district. And they're going to be building some kind of warehouse, equipment storage type of place. They were issued the approvals, and I just delivered Mark the final approved plans that they're going to build to. The O'Reilly car part store that's under construction, I'm sure you'll have seen it. They were approved quite some time ago, and the usual sequence of the work was after they get their permits, they put it out for bid, and they gave the contractor to read and study the permits and take into account whatever conditions the permits require, that he would have them covered with his proposal. I got a phone call from the contractor, or excuse me, a email. The contractor thought they hadn't got the permits yet. So there was a big disconnect. So I sent the permits back to the contractor, and I said, you really shouldn't have even been on this job until you got your permit and understood that there were certain requirements of the district, and you're supposed to have a pre-construction meeting so that if there's any questions on those requirements, the contractor would have a chance to discuss it before you got started. And so lo and behold, those are going to be held in the near future. Mark tells me he's going to meet with them, and with the plans in his hand, he can check it around and see if they're building what they said rock solid position to demand that. If they're exotic trees, there's the Australian pines. So there might be an angle in the statutes that if they're invasive, they need to be removed. I don't know, if the attorney's working on that. And is the attorney on the phone?
Yeah, the alternate attorney is on, Jonathan's not available, but his assistant, or
Okay.
partner
Did you ask?
And that is, I'm sorry, that is Kate Buchanan. Kate Buchanan.
Have you had a chance to investigate that?
This is requiring whether or not the district can require the removal of trees for a permit, for a development.
Yes, we have had the opportunity to review it. I think that we feel like it's going to be a favorable answer, but I believe Jonathan would like the opportunity to look at it and discuss it with either the chair and the district manager, just to confirm final action before making a recommendation tonight.
Thank you. So we will probably have an item at the March meeting, maybe official change in policy, and maybe before that, we will get direction to a specific permit.
If you could get the motion from the board to allow you to proceed
Yes.
with the attorney's recommendation.
Yes.
It's important that it gets done sooner rather than later.
Correct.
If the contractor be mobilized.
Correct. And so I think what George is asking, our engineer is asking, a motion made that if the district attorney finds it legally enforceable that we can require the removal of trees, that you grant me the authority to make the necessary actions to make that happen.
So moved.
Second. Let me clarify, where are we? What project are you talking about?
As you go north on Babcock, it's somewhere around 109th, I think.
107th and 109th.
Between 107th and 109th.
But the Australian pines are the one that's further north. So
Yeah, that's 109th.
that's 109.
Is that the one that's on the right side of the road, or is that
On the east side of Park Valley.
is that Benac's property?
Yeah,
Yep.
He's got approval to subdivide it into 6 5-acre lots. So he's putting pipes in for driveways across the ditch. And he's cleared Australian pines where the driveways go in. But he didn't remove all
Gotcha, I see the signs up
the, okay.
And that's different than a homeowner who's putting in a pipe. This is in essence, a developer who's taking ag land and turning it into residential ranchette land. And as a development, do we have the ability to require permissions of that? And that's what his attorney indicated, that hopefully we'll have a positive response from everybody.
subject to their review. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Anything else?
Unanimous.
Engineer Matt?
No, that was it.
I had some for the engineer or whatever it was.
So we're up to anything from the attorney. Ms. Buchanan, do you?
Thank you. I don't have anything further, but I'm happy to take any questions back to Jonathan for you.
Thank you. So we're at
We're
comments.
coming from the public.
So I'll be calling you up, for those who haven't filled out a form, I'll be the last of the lines. First one up is Grant Dansky. Sorry if I don't pronounce it correct. Oh, Grant, I'm sorry, Grant. Can you speak as loud as you can?
Keep going.
On the microphone, you know.
We get, the agenda printed out.
That was my bad, I should have done that. I should have made 30 or 40 of those, and I forgot to do that. That's my bad.
I gave it away.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I should do that. Next on the list is Josh Miller.
Okay, I'll speak loud. There's an article going around from a quote-unquote illegal deal St. John's made with FJD. And yeah, it doesn't pertain to the district until the district sold a right-of-way near there. But do you feel that that's a negative impact on how the district looks because of certain board members are part of FJD, as it's made it look like it's possibly a deal that only benefited FJD versus benefited the whole district?
It's probably
some research on that.
Nor am I.
Going to provide more specifics, we can look into it.
There's a title, no boat ramp, something like that. It's about the headwaters.
Oh,
The 6,200 acres that were sold in FJD to St. John's, and St. John's was found to hire a contractor without properly bidding, I think what the article says. And then the following year, 2019, the Fellsmere Water Control District sold a right-of-way so St. John's could have access to that headwater site to flood. So that's why I was curious how you felt about.
what's your source of
That's a
information?
conflict.
What's your source of information?
TC Palm.
TC Palm, yeah. So that's why I brought it up.
Got a lot of moving parts right there.
Yeah.
So we have to take a look at the art.
Well, and
There's a program, but
yeah, and I'm contracting with Blue Goose Construction, so there's some conflict there too. So that's why I wasn't sure how you felt about all that.
like I said, we'll take a look at the art.
Understand?
Mr. Carnell, email the article to Mark for him to get to you.
So I have it in my inbox?
Not yet.
Oh, okay, all right. Next one is Victorine Miller. Sorry if I don't pronounce it correct. Nothing? Okay, next one is Karen Ledford.
I'll wait.
You'll wait?
Wait.
No, I'll wait.
Oh, wait.
John Savage.
Okay.
Don't keep us here all night,
I'm
John.
not. First, for the engineer, I just want to ask you, because you said John and Son, but isn't that John Brown and Son?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Just a question, because I've read a lot of files. Is he going to be allowed to use the driveway that your other engineer the board let put on the east boundary right away? For that
The
building?
city of
Not only the
Fellsmere, I was the city manager when that project was approved, and I required them to build their driveway in the east boundary 100-foot district right of way, because that is the city's long-range transportation plan southern bypass. It
Okay.
made no sense to put a driveway, and then right next to it, a future road is gonna be there. So we required that. So they're only building like 150 feet of that, and it's probably not even to a road standard, it's probably.
Yeah, no, I just, when he said, Brad, he said John's son, was John Brown's son. They're actually the mulch grinders for you, and are they the mulch grinders
Yes.
for Park Island?
No. Not, oh, I don't know if they're sub, but they weren't the main people.
No,
Were they sub? No? Just for
they
you?
weren't a sub to Park Island.
Just you?
Right.
Just you, okay.
Hold on, sir.
I don't want to take everybody's minutes, this won't take a minute. And I think Richard's the only one who can really answer this. My questions are about the water farm and first completion date. Do we have a completion date on the water farm or anything?
There's only projection dates right now, and I don't
Okay.
recall them off the top of my head.
All right, how about the inlet, like there's minutes that say you're gonna build something to pump water into it?
If you show me the minutes, I'll be glad to take a
I
look at
will.
them.
I'll give you the one.
I'm
I
not
think at
very-
the last meeting, I mentioned that the water was being pulled out of you, and I think it was being pulled out of you via pump.
That was what I was wondering, where the location is at, the water, the pump, or the water's gonna be pulled out of to put into it, and where is it gonna discharge?
Again, that's a construction plan issue that I'm not intimately familiar
And
with.
they will be providing a permit application to the district, because you need to have a permit to be able to draw that out of the district. So,
They have submitted and received a permit for that.
Who has?
It's not a consumptive use permit, it's a, it's a,
irrigation permit, not irrigation, it's kind of.
it's to enter our right of way to install the pipe. The pipe will go from the canal all the way to their private property, and the pump station will be on the private property.
Where's the canal?
Where
You
is the
or
pipe?
main?
You,
It's, the pipe is tied into you, and it's several hundred feet south of the main canal.
Several hundred feet south, like ditch one main. Ditch one.
At least that far south.
Okay.
It's farther south.
We already discussed the drag line, and then, I'm good at hours on the digger, that was me. Richard, I would like to ask, because we're burning up so much of y'all's, board member time. I would like to ask you and Greg, would you, we'd like to request like a special meeting where we can just do like a sit down and because that would be legal with all y'all here, and us just asking questions due to, what am I gonna say, misinformation. And it's more like we're doing with Mark, but Mark can't ask our questions and he's only been here 4 months.
You got a special public meeting, we can't have one.
Say that,
I think he acknowledged it had to be a special meeting.
say that again, yeah, it's gotta be a special meeting.
It's a special public.
That's why I'm
Yes,
asking,
correct.
that's why I'm asking him and
I
Greg.
got it. Sorry, I was thinking,
Just so we're not, like a lot of this misinformation, and we just wanna ask questions, and we can't do it
Why don't you write them down and send them to Mark?
tomorrow, that,
Send the list of questions.
okay? All right, thank you. I wanted to say one thing, Mark, I think, is in the right direction anyway. I did.
You wanted to add something, Grant?
Yeah, the park lateral cleanup with that company, yes, sir. It was a truck, a few weeks back, and it was a FEMA truck. And they were clearing, they picked up a lot of debris from like 93rd to 97.
Interesting.
I think we're done.
There are submitted questions.
They're taking my load, that don't make a difference, but if they already take a contract price, because that part, a lot of it's been cleaned up, there's still a bunch of stuff there, but they cleaned it up, there's feet.
So, these list of questions, I just got, I think yesterday, late or today early, and I haven't really had a chance to dive into them. I would like the opportunity to respond to these with some forethought, if that's okay. And so,
Circulate us if you want us to look at it.
and I may actually need some feedback to answer some of these questions. So if it's okay, I'd like to defer this to either the citizen meeting or answer it at the next board meeting, if that's fine.
Gavel's going down, we stand adjourned.